Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Rick.
And today we are talking about Whisper of the Heart, which was a collab choice considering the fact that we watched the spinoff before this. But honestly, it doesn't matter which order you kind of watch it in, simply because it's kind of irrelevant in my personal opinion.
No, it's a shared opinion that there's very little, if no crossover whatsoever. But I don't know which one came. Well, no, never mind. The spinoff would have come second. I was going to ask which came first.
Yes,
but this one came first.
Yes, it did. But before that, if you want to hear part of the wider conversation where we were kind of actually talking about the spinoff, the history for it, between the Cat Returns and this and the points in between, as well as just having some fun and just in general enjoying ourselves for the stream and just talking about us, you can join us on twitch.tv/featured anime podcast for whenever we go live. If you want to talk with us, hang out with us and everything like that, we do have links to our Discord where I do give a shout out letting you all know that we're live, as well as on our Twitter, and you can find all that information in our show notes, as well as on our website, featuredanimepodcast.com. If you want to help support us, help us grow, and hear some of the bonus content that we do kind of put out there, you can go to patreon.com/featuredanimepodcast. $1 a month will get you access to that bonus content. Or if you want, you can use any of the affiliate links that we have down in there, along with the coupon code for Tokyo Treats. With that link, it'll get you some delicious treats every month. It also helps support us, and it is very, very much appreciated. And now on to the meat and potatoes. Whisper of the Heart came out in July 1995. Producer for it is Tokuyama Shoten. The studio for it is Studio Ghibli. It's based off of a manga. Genres for are drama, romance, and shoujo, and it ran for an hour and 51 minutes.
Sounds about right.
Yes. So I had to make sure that I was reading the right notes. So this, as we had stated earlier, is the kind of like the prequel to the spinoff. Doesn't follow the same characters. It only makes a life reference to the Baron. And this actually follows Shizuku, a 14-year-old girl who's really enjoys reading and writing and just kind of like taking her own spin on what I can tell, spin on some lyrics or music that was at least popular or kind of popular at the time. When she's going through all the books, she notices a name that constantly appears throughout the books, Seiji Amasawa, and her curiosity starts to grow and she tries to figure out who this individual is. Upon her journeys and trying to figure it out, she ends up following a cat to this house where she meets the statue character named Baron, which is where we finally meet the Baron. And she also surprisingly runs into Seiji after she tries to go into the library after leaving that shop that's there. This end story is her journey of growth where she finds the person that she actually feels she has more in common with, grows to understanding that character and developing that love relationship with that character, while also trying to strive and grow herself to be a better individual for them, simply because they are striving to be a better individual and pushing themselves forward as well.
That's pretty fair. I feel like the only thing I didn't like about this show or this movie, the story's phenomenal, made me tear up a bit, but the only thing I didn't like was the meshing of the music towards the beginning and the middle of the movie.
Yeah,
it didn't feel like it was blended appropriately. That's the word I was looking for. I thought it was really cute as far as the the storyline goes, because I forget what the main character's name was. She was renting all these books, wondering what's going on with why this guy keeps beating her to all these books, and he must be a great person for all of the books he's reading. It's very like-minded, I guess, genres, if you will, stories, things like that.
Yeah.
And
just so that way you are reminded of who our main character is again, even though I just said it not even a minute ago.
Oh, no, you said it. I don't know.
Shizuku. Yes.
I'm horrible with names.
Yes, you are. That's okay. That's why we love you.
So you can say it 9-10 times. I'll be like, I need to write this down.
Eventually you'll remember.
Eventually. The boy really liked her, apparently. And in an effort to get her attention, he rented out every book he could get his hands on and then donated some so that he'd always get there first and kind of annoy her.
Well, the donations weren't a result of that. The donations came before she started taking all of those out. And then he noticed her doing it. So because it was like, oh, this was donated a few years ago. You remember who it was by? Oh yeah. So it wasn't that they were donated because of her. It was like they were donated before then.
I guess that makes sense. For some reason, I just assumed that he donated those books specifically to try to get her attention, because when she got to it, she was the first name. She's like, I got to him first. And then she realized that it was donated by this person. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, so here's the other flip side of that, right? She could have been the first one to rent it out or take it out, since they've had a new card. Because, they were having cards. It wasn't digital. So they had to use cards like they used to.
Okay. I can respect that. Yeah. Anyway, he mentions that in order to get her attention, he did all that because he sat next to her. He sat across from her. He sat like catty corner to her just to see if he can get some kind of interaction going. And she was always engrossed in whatever she was doing. And I kind of like the fact that over, what was it, summer break, or was it spring break, something like that?
Yeah, summer.
Summer break. She was like, I want to read 20 books. That's admirable. That's
admirable is like not putting it strongly for me. All right, you're talking to a guy that will literally take about half a year just to read a book, assuming I actually make it through. So, I mean, like, I can't even promise that I'll make it through.
Don't feel too bad about it. I got my wife one of my favorite books, favorite bar none. I got it as a second date gift. So this is a few years old.
Right.
And she just finished the audiobook because she couldn't get through the pages. I'm like, are you? Hey, you know what? At least you consumed the story in some fashion or another.
Look, I can listen to a book. It's not a problem. Mm-hmm. I have such a long drive. I'll actually listen to podcasts and books, and while I'm at work and working, and I'll listen to some throughout the day while I'm there. It's the fact that I have to sit there and focus and read, words off of a page without flashy movie colors and pictures and entertaining type stuff that I end up having an issue. I can read. I just prefer it to be subtitles.
Oh, God. Meanwhile, I read so much that my eyesight is failing me. Oh, God. Yeah, I hate to go back to it, considering how much love it got last time. But do you remember something I might have mentioned before, Super Gene?
Yeah, you might have mentioned it. But you know what? Let's not worry about that, because that's not the point of this story. All right? Post. Save it for the post. The post.
Okay.
All right.
Fair enough.
There you go. Goodness.
No, just the way that she was reading, and the way the times that she was reading seemed to be very tired, very poorly lit, at least in her own room. And CJ, God bless you.
CJ says, I will ban you from this episode, Rick. Stupid book. Save it for the post show. Save it for the post show. Save it for the post show.
Anyway, she kept reading in these dimly lit areas, and I was amazed that the only thing that they showed her looking was tired. Because usually Studio Ghibli is very good about real world interactions and stuff like that. But maybe. Oh, that's true. You just brought one up where she's got a huge light on her.
Yeah, for those who are joining us for the live stream, there is an image of Shizuku looking down while she's listening with some listening to music with headphones on.
Which, no, this one's the part where she's writing. She's writing her book.
Yeah, which, I mean, kind of looks like the scene from Lo-Fi Girl, doesn't it?
Yo.
Coincidence? I think not. But that's beside the point and irrelevant of the matter.
Oh, goodness.
But no, the Studio Ghibli usually overall has some really solid art and
big time.
Right. And although this isn't the more fantastical, the more, genre or feel that Miyazaki has for it. And it's more so because he wasn't the director for this or the key animator for this. He was a producer. He was the storyboard. He created it and he wrote the screenplay for it. However, the director and the key animator for this was someone else entirely. So that's why it didn't have the same fantastical, magical feel that the Studio Ghibli or at least Miyazaki films typically have. It's because this isn't one that he directed.
That could make some sense. But I think you mentioned before, maybe it was just to me, that this guy was not a protege, but he was learning underneath Miyazaki.
That was where The Cat Returns.
Oh.
I was talking about The Cat Returns director.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. That was where my confusion was. Regardless, this one, kind of curious. Did you think you wanted to see what the book was about more than the movie? Because the book itself seemed very fantastical.
The book did seem very fantastical, which is why I feel like they ended up doing a spin-off of it, simply because that fit more into the fantastical motion for it. However, it's not always the case for Miyazaki films where it's a fantastical type of setting. However, the animation typically tends to have a more, I don't know, it has a different feel for me a majority of the time, honestly. And this did not, while it is a Ghibli, it did not feel like a Ghibli from the animation. And that could be my own personal bias. I tend to think of Ghibli personally as a very fantastical animation, tends to be very in general kind of like a fantasy driven genre. However, they have done, we've reviewed a couple where they weren't that, where it wasn't that fantasy driven narrative.
No, I guess I can see where you're coming from. My point of contention, or a problem I have with this movie, is the volume, the music, the sound, more so than the animation. I thought the animation was fairly average, which I guess is kind of surprising for a Studio Ghibli. It's not average for Studio Ghibli. It's just average, mediocre almost. But the blending of the music, the blending of the voices was kind of obtuse, I guess would be a good way to say it. Just not quite there.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really notice that. However, for a majority of the music, it wasn't really prominent until it needed to be, and where they started singing a version of what is it? West Virginia.
Oh, crap! I was gonna say, now you got me missing it. Yeah, their own little version of West Virginia. I thought that when she started singing it with the banjo, not the banjo, the violin, and then the old man and his two friends came down and they kind of came together and made the song kind of pop. I thought that was really, really well done. It made me smile. It made me feel good.
Take me home, country roads. That's the name of the song. Take me home, country roads. That's it. Okay. Sorry. It was bugging me. I knew the song wasn't West Virginia. I knew it wasn't West Virginia. I had to look it up. It's Take Me Home, Country Roads. Sorry.
No worries. No worries. No, it didn't. I agree, it didn't sound right, but I wasn't about to correct you because I had no idea what it was either. Um, Now the song itself kind of has different emotional history with me because of other movies I've seen that it's very impactful the way they sing it.
Yes.
So it maybe that bled over into this. And when she was spoofing it, I thought it was done really well too. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, no, I was going to say, I agree with you. You know, there are certain tones that you kind of view with it and play with it in her own. And obviously she can't really say or sing like a true meaning for Take Me Home, simply because, you know, she has no idea about the area, the country, or the everything having to deal with them. So her trying to adapt it for herself, her own narrative, her viewpoints, and everything like that is very well done for their own spin and their own unique version of that song. And it was done actually very, very well. And the fact that you actually were able to hear her version of the song too, with her singing it, I felt was very well done. It was nicely done. The fact that you got to actually hear it was good.
I agree. 100% I agree. One of the interesting points I found, is it very common in your understanding that cats just roam everywhere with no purpose, rhyme, or reason?
There are some cats that do that. There are some that do actually do that. There's even a cat island in Japan. It's just off the coast simply because there's just so many cats that are on there. It's just an island literally of cats. It's an actual problem.
That's amazing to me because like where I grew up, there were no strays. And if there was a stray, it wasn't a stray very long.
Oh no, there were strays everywhere. You just didn't see them.
Not that I saw.
You didn't have to go far to find them.
Yeah. If only I could have, because I'd have had more pets at that point.
Yeah, my wife constantly talks about wanting to find a kitten, just like once. She's like, I just want to find one once. I just want to walk outside. Oh, look, a kitten. There it is. You know, she's like, she's always seeing on like these videos and shorts and things like that where people are finding it. But that's irrelevant of the matter. But yes, you can see where the inspiration, though, also for the characters, because of the cats. Speaking of the cats, you don't get the name Muta till I want to say about 3/4 through, towards the end, closer to the end, where you hear the name Muta for it. And the cat, when you're first introduced to the cat, you see it and you're like, oh, that is definitely Muta. That is definitely Muta from The Cat Returns. Mm-hmm. You can tell color's different, but the attitude, the look, the size, it's Muta. And then you hear the cat later on called Muta.
Yeah, no, it was really nice.
Yeah. The other thing is I felt like they were going to go that fantastical route when you first meet the Baron.
Oh, 100%. 100,000%. Yeah. Especially when the eyes glitter and glint.
Yeah.
In such an odd, lifelike way.
Yes. Yeah. It was like, and they kind of gave it this like fuzzy look, or where it looked like they blinked and she did a double take. It was like, oh, is the guy just going to like walk away and all of a sudden the Baron's going to come to life and help her on this journey like Jiminy Cricket? And it's like, no, that was not the case at all. It's like, I was expecting a Jiminy Cricket type situation to happen. That did not happen. Kind of glad that didn't happen, but also kind of disappointed that didn't happen. That makes sense.
Well, I feel like the only reason we expected that or hoped for that was because we saw The Cat Returns.
Yes. Yeah, that's
because
fair.
We know how cool and awesome it could be. And she definitely needed some help.
Yes.
So her home life seemed rather, I guess, usual for the time, but I don't know. In your opinion, did high school matter as much as it did here? And was it? I didn't think it was as easy just to be like, I'm not just going to do any schoolwork. Sorry, and no one bats an eye. Oh, they're doing their own thing. No.
For me, my high school homework typically resulted in tossing my bag on the chair and being asked if I had homework, saying yes, and if it was done, saying yes, and then moved on with my life.
Yeah, but the difference between that and this is you somehow, some way, still had good grades.
No, no, I didn't.
No, I didn't.
I didn't. I most assuredly didn't. I passed tests barely, but I passed them. This accounts for 50% of your grade. Be sure to do your homework. Cool. Totally never did my homework.
Oh, geez, we'll have to save some of this for the post show because I got something to say about that. Either way, the fact that the boy was able to be like, yeah, I'm going to go to Italy for 2 months to try to go for what was it, violin creation, making violins.
Yeah, yeah, but
fantastic.
You have to kind of put it in a context at the exact same time. He didn't decide he was going to do that and not get the approval for it from his father, where, you know, his father relented and said fine, but put a very strict condition on it to where it's like, it's a sink or swim type thing. And you have to do this. If you go to this guy and you apprentice under him for that 2 months and he says you ain't got squat for talent and need to give it up, then you need to give it up. If he says you have a talent for it and you're going to be decent at it, then we'll continue forward with it.
As a good parent would. But I just, the freedom to do that, even if you have your grandfather's backing, even if he's got, well, maybe not. I was going to say, maybe this might be a unique situation where the grandpa knew a violin maker who was very talented. And he's like, hey, if he's got something, help him out. So I guess that is not normal. Not,
well, we don't know if the grandfather knew. I don't remember them saying the grandfather knew someone in Italy for it, but it kind of doesn't matter. Like he's going over there anyways, regardless. So
true. Very true. I don't know. It's just, sorry. I had to yawn. There was so much potential with this that they did end up using later in, well, obviously in The Cat Returns, but the story between the Baron and his what was it, lost love, his partner.
Yes.
That was unbelievably sad. Oh yeah, she's out for repair, but never came back.
Yeah, and it's like it's also a little bit more deep than that, right? And in terms of time frame for it and when it actually happened, because it's like the Baron's originally from Germany. The Baron's partner was sent out for repairs and he really wanted them both. And so the guy relented on it. And the woman that he met out there, who he basically fell in love with, said, hey, I'll send it to you. But then roughly around the exact same time, World War II ended up happening.
Oh, I didn't really get a timeline on that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
They had mentioned the time frame for it where it was like, oh yeah, no, within a couple of years it was like they were at war and Germany was at war, and I was like, oh no, makes sense.
I didn't make that connection. That does make a lot of sense though. Kind of cool.
Yeah,
interesting
indeed.
I just like mostly Ghibli films, they don't pay attention to the whodunit or the horrific atrocities there.
That is story irrelevant. That is story, it is story irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Like honestly, that bringing it up in that context it's like, what would be the purpose of trying to going into a deep conversation about it? You don't need to know about the deep conversation about it. They gave you a reference or timeline so that way you can kind of put 2 and 2 together as to why they never met up again, why he never got it.
I completely missed on that. But
well, now you know.
Like now I do. Yeah. Weird.
Anyways, the story, the progression, the character building for all the characters, not just Shizuku, but in general for everyone. It's nice, it's solid growth. You can't really go wrong in this, in the fact for the progression for it. It's not like it's a true linear path. There is like some stumbling blocks there. And all of it's within, I feel, the realm of possibility and fairly grounded. You know, you have people making
you think it could actually happen?
Yeah, like in terms of like what's going on and the concessions being made, or like trying to have these discussions with, your daughter, and it's like, okay, fine, well, as long as these don't suffer, as long as you don't fall behind on all this other stuff, I don't agree with what you're doing. But if you mean that it's strongly for you, it means that much to you, you can do it, you can finish it if it really needs to be done. But you have to make sure that all this other stuff doesn't suffer.
Now, do you think it's too far out of the realm of possibility to think that she did all this because she liked a guy?
No, not at all. She did. That's exactly why she did it. That is exactly why she did it. That's why it had to be done so quickly. It was because of that.
Huh. Okay. I missed that too. I thought she was doing it to try to prove to herself that she could be a writer because she read all these books and she was being called into not called into question, but it was questioned that like, why are you doing all that? What's your end game?
Well, she sees him progressing and moving towards a goal, and she does some poetry and some light writing and things like that. However, she's never truly committed to it, and she didn't want to feel the only one being left behind. She wanted to have a goal and a purpose in life as well moving forward, just like him. He had his goal. He had his purpose. He knew what he wanted out of life. He was making the moves for it. He was striving towards it, and him going to Italy to be an apprentice violin maker for a couple of months was his first goal towards it. Going out there for schooling specifically for that is his end goal, where he wants to be a violin maker, where he is renowned and known for it, where he's able to help, spread the love of music everywhere.
I got nothing else to say on that because that's very concise.
All right. Well, in that case, sir, I feel like this is a great spot for a rating then. On a scale of up to 10, how would you rate this?
This one, for no other reason than the music blending and the vocals didn't quite match what I was expecting from a Studio Ghibli film, it's not going to be as high as the rest of them. It's probably going to be close to I'm going to give it a 6. It's not something that I would rewatch for the intent of finding something new, but right. It is definitely something I'd recommend for somebody else to watch because the story's great. Progression's decent. You just got to get past the awkward sound, I guess.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay. So for me, I'm going to give it a 6.
Oh, same. Okay.
Yep.
Honestly, the way you were talking about it, I figured you'd give it at least a 7.
It's not something I would actually watch again. I don't know. I've been thinking a lot harder about how I rank and rate things. And so I'm trying to be a little bit more truthful or a little bit more accurate in my ratings. Right. So that's why I'm going with a 6. Well, that's why it's 6 instead of it being a 7 or something like that. So the blending for it, not that great. The artwork, honestly, I felt I expected more out of it. I thought it would be a little bit more fantastical of an adventure for a Ghibli film. It really didn't get that. While the progression in the storytelling was really solid, I felt like it inched toward a particular path and then it kind of veered away last minute. For the Baron, they made it seem like he was going to be brought to life. And while they did quote unquote bring it to life, it was in a fantasy style story that she was telling. And then for parts of the story you were being told, it really kind of didn't make sense. Okay, they're supposed to be doing this adventure. What's the purpose of this? It's they would give you a middle portion of the story or a small section of it and you have no context around it. I feel like they didn't really need that, or they could have surrounded it with a little bit of dialogue. So what's about to happen is X, and then you're filled in with the visualization of it, so that we gain a better understanding, and instead it just felt like it was kind of shoehorned in there.
I can definitely understand how you'd see that. And I agree with that as well.
So All right. Well, that's all. That's right. Right.
That's all. That's it. That's all.
Okay. I'm making sure. Okay. So, next week's choice, it's going to be another movie. It's going to be Kase-san and Morning Glories. It is a movie for obvious reasons, as we stated in the pre-show. We're doing a lot of movies right now because we have a lot of things coming up. So we're trying to make it as easy for both of us to be able to kind of watch and get all our ducks in a row at the exact same time. But if you feel like we did something right, did something wrong, did it too much justice, not enough justice, or anything like that, feel free to let us know. All our contact information and everything like that is available on our website, featuredanimepodcast.com. If you want to help support us, help us grow, so that way you can hear all the great and wonderful stuff that we're trying to do, get access to some bonus content and things like that. $1 a month is all you need. You can go to patreon.com/featuredanimepodcast. You'll get access to all that bonus content. And we also have affiliate links and everything like that for you in the show notes as well. Clicking on those links or going to using our link for Tokyo Treats with our coupon code Featured Anime at checkout. You'll save $5 and it'll help support us at the exact same time. And it is very much appreciated. And until next time, I'm Jack.
I'm Rick, and we'll see you next time.